welcome you back once again to the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Of course, we're coming to you live from the Rescue Smokehouse Grill right here on Exit 75. These guys and gals doing a great job in here. Award-winning barbecue restaurant, but that's not all that they have. If you've got children that maybe like something else on the menu, they've got plenty of things to pick from. The food is outstanding. The prices are very affordable. They're going to give you plenty to eat, and they're going to be open until 10 o'clock tonight. Our friends Raymond and Amy Poor and the entire staff here at the Rescue Smokehouse Grill, what a blessing they have been to us as the Deep Dixie Racing Report crew. We love coming down here. Dale and I sat across from one another just a few minutes ago and had some supper. We do it every single Thursday. You can come check it out for yourself. You don't have to be dressed up unless you just want to. If you want to come as you are, absolutely okay for you to do that. Located off of exit 75 on Interstate 75. And guys, when you take that exit, whether you're traveling north or south, you're not going over the river and through the woods. You simply go across the bridge if you're heading north and literally almost make a U-turn if you're heading south. That is the Rescue's Smokehouse Grill. Come on out and check it out. Got about 3 hours left. Got a great show lined up for you tonight. And let me give you a rundown of the guests that we are efforting. We feel like we've got pretty much everybody locked in. Coming off of a big weekend, had a runner-up finish and a big win over at Talladega Short Track. Mr. Riley Hickman will be joining us in just a few moments. And then coming up around 7:30 toward the bottom of the hour, we're going to be talking to what I feel like is going to be an outstanding interview. We're going to be speaking with a young man named Steve Mill. Of course, most of you know that he was involved in NASCAR. At one point, his father, Steve Mill, was a crew chief, I believe, for Rouse Racing with the Mark Martin crew. And Shane has an incredible story. Ended up leaving NASCAR, got into sprint car racing, ended up in a very nasty accident, and it changed his entire life. I told Dale, didn't even realize that we would be talking to Shane until about a week ago. I saw a documentary on this young man, and it's a very interesting story. I think it's going to be heart-moving, and I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to talk to Shane Mill. He'll be coming up around 7:30. We're going to take a break after that, at least we plan to. Then we're going to be coming back, and we're going to be taking a little closer look at some of the things that go on at a racetrack on a Saturday night, a Friday night, a Sunday night, wherever your local track may be and when they run. I'm joined by a couple of my teammates here tonight, our flagman, Mr. Jason Dykes, and his son, Will, who literally could flag right now anywhere in the country. A young man that's about to go into the 10th grade. And another one of my hardworking teammates, man, this guy is all over the track, helping people out, keeping the show moving on. Mr. Heath Rowland going to be talking to us a little bit about what they do down in the pit area as track officials and pit stewards, things like that. And good to see a good friend of mine. I had the opportunity to speak with him just before we came on live. Mr. Skip Pinnell, man, what a legendary driver. Skip is such a nice guy. He's wore many hats. He's still driving and he's still getting it done. But as of the last few weeks, he's taken on a little different role over at Albany Motor Speedway. And Skip's going to be coming on. We're going to be talking about his duties as a promoter as well as the driving aspect. And we sure do appreciate all of these men coming down and those that will be joining us by phone. Cannot leave our sponsors out. I want to say a huge thank you to Mr. Bill Cheek. Mr. Bill Cheek is a friend to many racers. He is a very notable man down in our area in Middle Georgia. Bill Cheek is the president of Heartland EMS. That is the first response company down in our area. They work our racetrack. Not only that, they take care of the entire Middle Georgia area. And Bill Cheek, a great friend of mine, a great friend to the racing community. And I want to say a big thank you to Bill and our friends at Heartland EMS. We couldn't do it without them. And my good friend, Mike Hurd. Mike Hurd has been another man that has been outstanding to the racers. And Mike is the service manager at the award-winning 5-star Hyundai 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins, Georgia. He's on the main drag there. And actually, I swung by Mike's place today, had him take a look at the brakes on my car. and got an oil change. And guys, let me tell you the kind of people that 5 Star is, and Mike heard, and the staff. I had heard that little sizzling sound that you hear when your brakes are going out. It wasn't down to the sensor to where it was squeaking, but it didn't sound just right. My wife and I are planning on making a trip next week. Just wanted to get out ahead of this thing. I was sure that I was looking at least rear brakes and maybe brakes all the way around. And Mike and the crew there at 5 Star and that service department, they put it up on the lift, got in there, checked everything out. Everything is A-OK. And, they could have easily said, Pastor Todd, you need new brakes. We're going to take care of it. Mike said, you're good to go. Got an oil change, and I was on my way. That is why I love recommending these people. That is why we are proud to have them as our sponsor here. That's 5 Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins, Georgia. And Mr. Mike Hurd. Mike, if you're watching, and the staff, thank you. We appreciate all that you do. Guys, we are going to open up our show, as always, with the word of prayer and the playing of our national anthem. We still want to remember our friends up in Chattanooga, these 4 Marines that were shot down, senseless murder, senseless act of violence. We just still grieve over that. And Dale, I don't know if you guys have heard any updates, but something that has been on my heart for the last few days, and it's been in the news. I think everybody's probably heard about it. These 2 14-year-old young men down in Florida that by all accounts were seasoned fishermen, knew the water well, were experienced boaters, and they went out last Friday, did not return. They found the boat capsized about 180 miles north of where they were at, and as of, at least to my knowledge, they haven't found them yet. Has anybody heard anything different? We need to pray for that family. Can you just imagine what that would be like? And the parents and all the friends, everybody's saying that with the water being warm, that there's still a chance they could be alive. And let's just pray that God's will be done, and that these young men could be returned safely to their families. So at this time, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, I'm going to ask, if you will, to take a moment and pause as we go to the Lord in prayer. Father, we thank you once again for the opportunity to come and to have some fellowship tonight, to be able to visit with some friends and to make some new friends. And Lord, we just want to give you praise and thanks for all of your blessings. Lord, there's nobody in this world whose life is perfect. Every one of us have trouble and challenges and problems. But Lord, you have given us another day to live, and for that we're grateful. Lord, we just ask that you be with the families of these Marines that were gunned down. I pray for them. I know they're still hurting. We're all hurting about that. Lord, these 2 young men that are lost at sea, or at least it seems they are, we pray for them. And Lord, I pray that somehow, some way, that they can be found safely, that they can survive this. I just ask that you let your will be done, be with their families as they continue to search. And Lord, as always, if there's anyone sick that's watching in our racing family, we pray for them and ask that you would touch them. We lift up our servicemen and women all over the world. We pray also for our first responders in our communities, that you would keep your hand of protection on them. We ask that you bring our servicemen and women home safely, bring them home soon so that they can be reunited with their families. And Lord, just let this show be a way, a tool, and a venue to share the gospel with whoever may be tuning in. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. At this time, we are going to honor America with the playing of our national anthem. God bless America, and welcome once again to the Deep Dixie Racing Report. We're so glad to have you guys and gals joining us tonight. We've got a great show on tap. Of course, I'm your host, Pastor Todd Sharon, track announcer at Cochran Motor Speedway, and my partner, Mr. Brian Harris, Hester. I don't know why I want to keep calling him Brian Harris. I've got a buddy with that name, but Brian is a trucker, and he's always on the road somewhere. We got word from Brian that he's probably going to be here in the next maybe 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And Brian does a great job. And, of course, my longtime friend, he is the producer of this show, Mr. Dale Hall. As a matter of fact, Brian just got here. I know he's probably going to want to grab something to drink, but we're glad to have you, buddy. I know that he made a lot of effort to get here. Just a couple of things real quick, man. We were all talking about something that could possibly affect us again this weekend, the weather. I know that in our area, the forecast for Friday and Saturday night is somewhere around 50-60% chance. And we've also seen that go from 60% to about 10% in a matter of minutes. It literally happens that way. But I want to tell you about a couple of things that is going to be going on here this coming weekend. Down in Savannah, they're going to be having a big race down there, and that'll be tomorrow night. Hopefully everything will work out and the weather will cooperate. I know that the Southern Outlaw Super Street Series is going to be rolling into Savannah down there. Hopefully that'll be able to be run tomorrow night. Also, in our neck of the woods at Cochran Motor Speedway, for the first time, we are welcoming in the Neesmith Crate Late Models. I can't wait, man. This is going to be a great, great show. I'm so much hoping that the weather will hold out. Tomorrow night, we will open up the two-night event. 2,000 to win in the Neesmith Crate Late Models. We're going to have qualifying heat races in our other divisions. Then we'll come back on Saturday. That'll be August 1st. And the second part of that weekend will take place. It's going to be $4,000 to win in the Neesmith Crate Late Models that night. And then we also are going to be running our late models, our sportsmen, our Super Street, and our bombers, all for $1,000 each to win. And get this, guys, $5,000 to the winner of the Pure Stock division. That is a huge payday. And on top of all of that, the Junior Enduros are going to be running as well. That'll be for a regular purse that we give this beginner class on a Saturday night.
There'll be a lot of, there should be a lot of clean racing.
Oh, yeah.
$5,000 win.
No, I'm telling you what, man. I'm just wondering, this could turn into one of those demolition derbies. But, one of the things about the Pure Stock division, it doesn't matter where you go, they're going to show up. Yep. That is a class that you can pretty much bet you're going to have double-digit numbers every single time that you open the gate. And there's a couple of guys that have been on a tear down there. And we got a good look at some things on Saturday night. And, Brian, Flywheel Floyd has been pretty much unstoppable over the last few weeks. But there's been a couple of other guys that have stepped their game up. And I've seen some guys that I haven't seen this year. They blew the dust off those helmets, man. When you put that kind of money on the line, people are going to come out of the woodwork. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, Little Wiley's been right there every week. I mean, he keeps posting his cars for sale, but they keep running good. So I don't know what the deal is there. Mm-hmm. Little Jimmy steps in, brings his machine up, and wow, fast. And and my hat's off to my buddy Blake Martin. Pretty much running another night with a bomber motor, from what I understand. Pretty much, from what I understand, it was a cam legal bomber motors with a good set of heads on it, and Algon Blake was right in there with him, kind of back to form like he was before. So, this thing, and then there's a couple more cars that, took a week off and were, kind of getting ready for this week. So, I'm going to say there's going to be at least 10 that's going to be close in that. And are they qualified, or are they going?
As far as I know, I think they're going to qualify. Don't hold me to that. I should have done my homework better. But another thing to add to this, Brian, there was some things that kind of developed this past Saturday night, and racing is racing. I understand that. Occasionally, we will run a race from green to checker, and we'll get it knocked out. Saturday night was not one of those times. We had so much action. So many cautions. There was a lot of hurt feelings. There was a lot of bent up sheet metal. And talking about Blake, man, you talking about an Iron Man. Blake Martin survived all kinds of mess, and I think he ended up with a third place
finish, and was, I mean, really, he I think he had the second fastest time in the race.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. But if you're just tuning in, thank you for joining us on another edition of the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Of course, we are coming to you live from the Rescue Smokehouse Grill right down here on exit 75 off of Interstate 75. Again, thank you to our sponsors, Mr. Mike Hurd and our friends at 5 Star Hyundai in Warner Robins, also Mr. Bill Cheek and our friends at Heartland EMS down in Cochran, Georgia. Brian, thanks for hustling, man. I know that you were driving fast and trying to get here, and we appreciate that. You bring so much to the show. Let me run down real quick the guests that we are chasing. Our first guest, as a matter of fact, be coming up in just a few minutes. We're going to talk with Riley Hickman. Riley had a great weekend.
Yes, he did.
And scored a big win over at Talladega.
Yep.
And what I am really looking forward to, when Dale told me about this possible interview last Saturday, it just didn't work out. But we have been chasing this for about 2 weeks now. Our intention is to get Mr. Shane Meal on the line. He is the son of Steve Meal, and Shane has an incredible story.
Yes,
if you've had an opportunity to see any of the documentaries or any of the interviews and things like that, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. We'll also going, yes, Dale.
I was going to let you know, we got Jordan McDonald to thank for getting that for us.
Okay. Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah,
we really appreciate that, because I can tell you that Shane has such an incredible story. He is very much sought after, and to be able to land him on our show to even get a few minutes of his time is a big deal. Thank you, Jordan. We're going to probably take a break after our conversation with Shane, and then we're going to be coming back. We're going to be taking another look at different aspects of the track. We have talked to a score. We've talked to several track promoters and track owners, things like that, some sponsors. Tonight, being joined by a couple of my teammates, Mr. Heath Rowland and Jason Dykes. And Heath is one of the, I guess you would classify him, man, as one of the all-around guys that you got to have down there on Saturday night, man, constantly getting it done. Matter of fact, I'm going to get Heath to tell me what his job title is. I don't even know what it is, but he is absolutely busy. And, of course, Jason is our flagman, and Jason's got a son, Will. And for those of you that have been anywhere racing in Georgia, at East Alabama, at Golden Isle, at Cochran for sure, you probably remember this little guy that was very small. I'm talking probably 6 years old, 7 years old, and he was always on the bottom row down there, and he was flagging. Well, that young man is not so little anymore. Will is with us tonight. He rode down with his dad, and so thought it would be pretty cool when we were talking to Jason that we maybe include Will into the conversation. Looking forward to that. And then we're going to be talking to a good friend of mine. I haven't seen him in a while, but always good to catch up, Mr. Skip Pinnell, who is still driving, getting it done. They've been to Cochran a couple times, and outstanding looking race car. And Skip is a winner, man. He is still in the thick of it every week. And just recently he has taken on some additional duties over at Albany Motor Speedway, and I know that us being pretty close to them, they're going to probably really enjoy our conversation with Skip. That'll be coming up in just a little bit. But right now, let's see if we can't go ahead and get this thing rolling. I know that Riley Hickman is been very, very busy, and we're going to see if we can't get him
Dale, did he
on
win
the
at
line.
Norwich Tuesday night?
I don't know about Tuesday night now.
I didn't ever look.
I'm going to go ahead and call him.
Okay. Thanks again for joining us here on the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Pastor Todd Sheridan, your host, alongside Brian Hester, our traveling track journalist, and Dale Hall, our show producer, back behind the camera. And Dale is always trying to make things better, always trying to improve things, and got a couple extra cameras here tonight. Hopefully that will improve the visual as well as the sound. And we appreciate all that Dale does. And he's got some exciting things that he's working on. Going to make it a little easier for you to find that interview that you want, especially if you're short on
Hello,
time.
Riley Hickman. Sorry, Mr. Call. Just leave your name and number. I'll get back to you.
go ahead and go over what I
Okay.
saw.
Riley, Pastor Todd Sharon, we will get back with you in just a little bit. All right, what we're going to do to fill in some time.
Just go back over what I've seen for the weekend. Swainsboro Friday night, Saturday morning. They actually got that race in. I think that was that third try.
Mm-hmm.
So they finally got it in. My hat's off to Paul and them. That place was a pond, really, and they still got it in. And Casey Roberts wins. New track record set by Donald McIntosh. We talked about him all year long. Right in there in the thick of things, he got into the Massey Cat car, and he's been running good. 13.832, and that's scooting on around that joint. And that's still a pretty good big track. It's over 3/8 of a mile, really.
How does that compare to Cochran?
I would say they're close. You know, as far as track and the room and all, I'd say they're pretty close. It's probably just a little bit bigger.
Our record is a 14.105. So if you busted into the 13-second bracket, that is hauling it, man.
Both tracks are very rounded to a certain degree. You know, there's no long straightaways anymore. Find very few tracks like that anymore. Rambo, he finishes second that night. Donald McIntosh third. They go to Scriven. Rambo wins again in a pretty good race. Sunday night, Rome got rained out. I flew over to Modoc to catch that race Monday night, and Casey Roberts wins it, kind of a runaway. Rambo wins again. Casey was second, and Ross Bales was third. So we've got just a little contention of drivers in that area right there from North Georgia, South Carolina, that's been pretty good, and that's I'd say that top 5 group's got to be Chris Ferguson, Rambo, Casey Roberts, Donald McIntosh, Riley, he's in there too. That's been your top 5 guys this year that's been pretty dominant about everywhere they got stars, and I would put Weaver in there too. Weaver had a good run the other night. He come from a little ways back, and I think got to Riley a couple times, never got around in Talladega. So good weekend. Just saying, the Ray Cook Series is running again tonight at Tri-County. That's Ray's personal track up there in the edge of North Carolina. So that's pretty much the week. I'm still ain't recovered from sleep. So
I'm curious. Monday night, there's hardly ever a Monday night race unless you're talking about the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. What kind of crowd was there? How did that?
Has anybody seen my pictures? I'm talking about it was packed. You come in on 221, you have to cross our railroad tracks and come up. There used to be an old school right there, and you make a right and go back upside the railroad track like an old frontage road, old county maintained road. I didn't go far, and I had to park in the ditch. Well, when I got up there, I seen I could go on to the backside pits and all, so I went back out my truck, drove back up there. But absolutely standing room only
on a Monday night.
Monday night.
That's incredible, man. That's got to be a good feeling.
And you would think way out there, and most all these guys have seen it at one time or another. Skip, you ever race up there years ago? Modoc, South Carolina. It's in the middle of nowhere. I mean, literally. It's on the other side of Clarks Hill Dam, and it just packed.
Got to be a great feeling because these guys are following this tour, and you're talking about the potential for a lot of stuff to get tore up.
Yeah.
And to be able to have some of your marquee names to survive, roll into a track on a Monday night that is off the beaten path and have standing room only, man, that gives everybody hope, and that's really, really cool. I'm glad that you were able to share with us about that.
That was one of them things where I just got home. My son was going to be going out of town working, and I just said, man, I ain't going to do nothing. And I mean, it was 6:45. I rolled in the driveway, and I said, you know what? It's just like, I think I'll go to Modoc.
How far is it from where you live?
It's 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Okay.
I made it in 2:05, I think.
Okay, cool.
Somewhere along there.
If you're just joining us, thank you once again for watching the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Brian Hester giving us a recap of this past weekend. A lot of racing action, a lot of people really to thank for stepping up and trying to overcome some of these rain issues. And I know that at Swainsboro, you'd said they were upon. I actually saw a little something that I think it was a picture of Robbie Bland, and the picture was taken like at 4 a.m. in the morning or something.
I left, and I think that's the only 2 features they had left, and I met some friends. We went to her last night, and I think they dropped the flag on it. I think they pretty much told everybody, if you span out, we're just gonna keep going.
I hear you, man. I hear you. You be there. I mean, literally, you're talking about the sun coming up on the next day.
Really, I got to take my hat off to Paul because it was a little pond. I said, this is over with. I done paid to go in. I said, well, I just messed up, but hold on, and his crowd stayed there too, That's
awesome, man. We talk often about the position that a track promoter and a track owner is in. There's so many things that we don't see. There's so many intangibles that figure in that can really, really add up to a lot of money and a huge loss, especially. And it's so funny. It seems like in our area, Skip and I were talking, very seldom today this drop a 90% chance. You got a 90% chance. In other words, you pretty much can go ahead, safely call this thing off. It's always that 50, 60, and then, the scattered shower, and you find out that within a mile of the racetrack, nobody gets a drop of rain. You get a flood right over your track. So hats off to all of our track owners, our promoters, and especially the people that got to get the track back in shape. Incredible effort. Dale, let's try Riley again and see if we can track him down.
Let's wait. Let's go ahead and do Shane.
Okay, let's do that. If you're just joining us, guys, you tuned in at a great time. We are just about to get Mr. Shane Meal on the line. We've talked about this several times last show and again tonight. It looks like we're going to be able to get Shane. Shane has an incredible story, and I am very, very excited to be able to talk to him. And so stay where you're at. Maybe tell someone else to come and listen. I know this is going to be inspirational, going to be a great time if we can track him down.
Hello, this is Shane.
Shane, Pastor Todd Sharon, Deep Dixie Racing Report. How are you, friend?
Good. How about yourself, bud?
I'm doing good, man. First of all, Shane, I want to tell you how honored we are to have you as our guest, and I am very, very excited about having the chance to talk to you. And if you're just tuning in to the Deep Dixie Racing Report, we appreciate you joining us. We are on the line right now by one of the most interesting drivers that has an incredible story, Mr. Shane Meal, and we're going to get right to it. Shane, first of all, I want to start out by asking you, how are you doing these days, buddy?
I'm doing really good. I just got home from Mooresville. I go to a therapy place called Race to Walk there. I've been going there for 4 years. I'm where I'm at due to them mainly. I've been very lucky. I've been very fortunate. I've had good therapy. I've had enough people behind me that would drive me an hour and a half one way to go. My mom, my dad, my family. Friends. I've had tons of people help me out. I'm one of those people that when I got injured, I tell you one thing, if you break your neck as an American, you better have money and a family that takes care of you. Because if not, you're screwed.
Wow. Shane, before I even knew that we had a shot at getting you on the show, I had told Dale, I'm not even sure how I arrived at it, but I come across a documentary, I guess. I'm not real sure who produced this, but I do know that your mom, your dad, your brother, there were a lot of people that had input into this show. And I got to tell you, man, it kept me on the edge of my seat. I literally sat there from start to finish. And guys, on that note, Shane can probably tell us more about it in detail. But if you'll just go to Google or YouTube, you can type in Shane's name. Remember to put that H before the M on his name, and I'm sure you can pull it up. Shane, take me back to that night in the sprint car. I can see it just as clear in my mind's eye as if I was looking at it on a screen. I think you were in a qualifying attempt. You drove into 3 and 4, if I'm not mistaken, really, really hard. The car kind of did a weird little front to back, back to front, and you went roof first into that wall. Take us back to that moment, and what do you remember about it?
Well, I tell you the truth, I don't remember anything of that day. I crashed on a Saturday, and the last thing I remember walking out of a McDonald's in Toledo, Ohio on Tuesday. So it's one of those things where I always said I didn't want to race motorcycles because I didn't want to break my leg, but if I raced cars, if I was going to be fast enough and it hurt, your brain would forget about it. So I'm lucky enough, I hit my head hard enough to where I don't remember it. But it was one of those days I wasn't supposed to be racing right then. My back was broke. I tried to pass my IRL license test, and they found out my back was broke. But we were close to the points lead, and I'd been doing good that year on dirt in Silver Crown. We were, one of the fastest in practice, and it's just one of those things to where it paid more points to qualify first when I was trying to do it. And the people that tell me right before I rolled out, they said, "Watch this," and they said that's what I told them. So it's one of them deals, man. Terre Haute is beat a lot of people, made a lot of people famous, killed a lot of people, and I'm lucky enough that it didn't kill me. I still get to go back there and watch racing. It doesn't affect me. It's part of it. I got to race my whole life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to be at work at 8 o'clock. I didn't have to leave at 5. So at 30, I got paralyzed. At 35, I'm starting a foundation for helping children smile, helping families that are dealing with spinal cord injuries recent, when people are about to go back into the real world. It's kind of crazy when you go back into the real world first time paralyzed.
Absolutely.
It's tough, and you got to know and explain to people what's going to happen when you're first injured. You're going to be too cold. You're going to, it's just the same thing.
Right.
People go through different things with families and all of it. And I want to be there and help people not be as upset and be lucky and grateful that whoever they got could have died. And, you can still look in any room and feel lucky and know that you're luckier than somebody.
Wow, well said.
I know I do that every day.
Well said, Shane. If you're just tuning in, we are in a conversation with Mr. Shane Meal, and Shane has an incredible story. Spent a little time in NASCAR at different levels, and then moved on to the open wheel sprint car arena, and that's where things happened in a big way that was life changing when he was 30 years old. Shane, I don't remember your exact quote, but I do know that during an interview when I was watching the documentary on your life, that you alluded to, as bad as this injury and this accident was, you took a lot of good from it, and in some sense of the word, it was actually a blessing. I'm not sure if you used that actual word, but what did that accident do to you, not from a physical standpoint, but as far as the Shane Meal, the man Shane Meal going forward?
Let me understand that there's a lot of stuff that I thought that mattered that really didn't matter. I learned more about what's real in life. I learned more about I can walk in the room because I've already got the icebreaker because I rolled in there with a wheelchair. You know what I mean? I've luckily been I hit my head, had a traumatic brain injury and a spinal cord injury, and I'm more talkative and more upfront and open than I've ever been. And I think that's a blessing. I mean, I think that I have that for a reason. When I'm at Shepherd's down in Atlanta, where I've spent 2.5 of my 5 years injured, they have, when there's new injured kids or someone that's just down, somebody can belly flop, somebody can, there's some really small injuries that paralyze people.
Mhm.
And you can be down in the dumps, and I don't want to see anybody down in the dumps. And if I can, turn a frown upside down, then, just one, my day is happy, my day is complete. You know what I mean? You're looking for the next frown to turn upside down, and I've had that ever since. My first memory was waking up on November 17th. I got hurt October night, 2010. I woke up November 17th flying in a plane from Indiana to Atlanta, and I saw my mom, and I was surrounded by nurses and stuff. I was like, "Mom, what's up?" She said, "You're in a crash, and you're paralyzed, but it's temporary." And so that temporary stuck in my head, like, my mom does not believe that I will never walk again. My dad does not believe I will never walk again. I don't believe I will never walk again. But today I can't. But the only thing I can do is get stronger and work harder. I mean, that's all I can do. I pretend I have a 5-year-old body with muscles trying to move a 35-year-old person. That's pretty tough. So I've got to get it closer. I got to build these muscles that I've got now to make me move more. And that's all I can do is work day to day.
Incredible. If you're just tuning in, we are talking with Mr. Shane Mill, has an incredible story. And Shane, I'm going to ask you just a pointed question, man. And looking back on the things I have seen about your life, first of all, let me tell you, I'm a huge fan. I really am. I know more about you after your injury than I ever knew about you as a racer. Did that accident save your life, Shane?
I think so. It didn't change. The biggest change I ever had in my life was when I got kicked out of NASCAR and woke up one morning. I had 2 teeth lodged in my hand, and the doctor said he was going to have to amputate. And that was when I decided to go get fixed. I went to a 14-week drug rehab, July 23rd, 2007. So, I mean, over 8 years clean is pretty good. That was a mind-changing experience. I would have liked to have went and known and learned all I learned in that 14 weeks before I ever got to race. It would have made my mind so much smarter, and it showed because I went automatically right into open wheels. I won it a lot of the big tracks. I won the Hoosier 100. I never lost at the IRP in the sprint cars. I won Winchester, Salem. I don't really know where. I won a lot of places, and I'm lucky that I had good enough people with that to help me racing. People liked it when I changed, when I wasn't the wild drug using Shane. People actually really cared that I was someone after they met me, and they didn't just read a bunch of stuff. When you meet someone, you're going to learn a lot more about them than when you read about them.
Absolutely.
You know that.
Absolutely.
I mean, you deal with people on the radio all day long, and you know how it is. And when people met me and they realized, I actually was a decent human being, and people can change. And I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of people that didn't like me. I had a lot of people that liked me, and a lot of people that didn't like me is because I beat them more times than they beat me. And I know that I got pissed when people beat me, but that's just life.
That's right. Shane, you alluded to your time in NASCAR. When we go back to NASCAR, and I had already determined that I was not going to bring that up unless you did. But what do you take away from the memories? I mean, I know that it's every racer's dream, I guess, when you make it to what they call the big time, any level of NASCAR racing, that's the upper echelon. But looking back on your time spent in NASCAR, whether it was in a truck, what is now an Infinity car, or even if you even dabbled in the Sprint Cup Series at all, looking back on those days, what are some of your thoughts? What are some of your memories, good and bad?
good. There was a lot of good days that I was fast. There was a lot of days that, with 15 to go, you know, the guys that worked hard all day, blah, blah, blah. And maybe I pulled into the pits and say we lost positions and I had passed the same guy 3 times. I got tired of it and somehow ended up, you know, bumping the fence. There was days like that. There was days that we had crappy cars and ended up with fast cars and ran third. You know, third was my best finish in Bush. I won truck or an Xfinity. I won a truck race and I finished 19th in Sprint Cup. So I had some good racing. I had a lot of cool things that people never will get the chance to do, and I did it all before I was 25. I mean, I was banned right after my 25th birthday, and I can say sitting here that nobody ever got in any car that I drove and ran faster than I did. And I might not have been the smartest racer and finished the races, but I can't say I was fast. And there's people that I haven't drove a stock car in 10 years, and they'll still say, Shane, you drove harder than anybody I've ever saw. Now, they might be just telling me that to float my head and get me all excited, but I've heard it a lot of times, and I'm one of those people now that understand that you have to really finish to finish first, you know. And they used to even write that on my steering wheel, making fun of me. My brother was actually just making fun of me about it because we're going go-kart racing tomorrow night, and he's going to drive, and he does nothing but crash. And I really get tired of it. I'm like, come on, man. All you got to do, you don't even have to pass that guy. Just finish the race. And I've made him part owner now. I gave him the cart and the engine, and I said, here you go. If you tear it up, it's on you. So hopefully tomorrow he has a little bit better. But it's one of those things to where what I learned in NASCAR and the events and the time I had, I don't know many people that'll ever get to do it. You know, I mean, what I had pretty girls, fast cars, big boats, big house, more pretty girls, more drugs, and I'm telling you, I turned 27, and July 23rd, I checked into rehab, and I actually became a man, and that's where I feel like I'm at today. I do tell when people do things that I think aren't right, I do get mad. I'm like, that's absolutely wrong. How would you do that? Or blah, blah, blah. And that's just how I am. I'm that way. Yeah, I get pissed at people, and people should get pissed at me, but that's just life, man. I really, I'm not a perfectionist, but I want everything to be almost perfect. And that's how I'm living my life. My family helps me a ton. Being on radio shows, I'm very thankful to get to do that and even talk. You know, just spread the word about. You know, there's never going to be a day that is that bad. You know what I mean? There's always way horrible days.
Yeah.
But you got to realize that the day you're having, there could be worse, so just find the good in it.
That's right. If you're just tuning in, we're joined on the line by Mr. Shane Mill. And you know, Shane, these one-liners don't always make sense, but there were never more truer words spoken than whoever coined the phrase, if you can keep an attitude of gratitude, you're going to be fine. And that's exactly what I hear in your voice. And Shane, thank you for going back during those times in NASCAR. I have read many reviews. I have read that there were some of the best in the business, man, that touted you as the next superstar. And I'm sure you've heard those things. And there was a couple of guys that weren't quite so gracious with you. They were a little rougher on you, but I don't think anybody could deny that when Shane Mill got behind the wheel, that he was going to get the most out of that car. But Shane, going forward now, you talked a little bit about your foundation that you're wanting to do for children, and we want to kind of help you get the word out on that. And so in just a moment, before we let you go, I want to know more about that. But first, I want to ask you, I have seen bits and pieces of footage, and I don't know enough about it to talk about it intelligently, but I'm hoping you can shed light on it. You've actually been able to get back in a car on some level, haven't you?
I got the opportunity to drive a race car at Rockingham. 2 years after I got injured, I averaged 101 miles an hour.
Wow.
And that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
I didn't know I was going to go that fast. I had no clue, you know, and I guess lucky it didn't have a speedometer, because last time I drove, I saw how that turned out, so I didn't really want to do it again.
Right. Now, was that foot pedals or hand controls? Explain to us how that was set up, Shane.
It's hand controls, just like I have in my van now. It's a triangle post. I grab a post, and then there is another post on the top of my hand and the bottom of my hand. And brake is forward, gas is back, and I have the same kind of post that I drive on the steering wheel. And what they do is they restrict the resistance on the steering. They turn it down to 25%. So that helps a lot, and makes it easier for us, because a lot of times, you know, I'm injured C4 through 7, and I don't have very good triceps, not very strong in that part. So this really helps make me make the turns and things like that. So it was really cool. It was the first time I had ever bought. You know, the guy called me and was like, "Hey, you want to drive a car?" And I didn't really care about driving, you know, but we got to help Wounded Warrior, and 2 amputee veterans got to do it also. So I was like, for sure, I'm going to do it. If 2 guys that went and stuck their neck out and were real men and signed up for the United States, I'm going to do anything I can for them, because I was a brave race car driver, and I tell every soldier or veteran I ever see, I was never brave enough to go fight. And those people that sign up and do that, I am so grateful.
Amen.
Almost
Amen. That is,
you know, it's every day.
Absolutely, man. Shane, you are an incredible inspiration to so many people, and I know that your time is valuable. Before we let you get out of here, I want you to tell us again the name of your foundation, and tell us a little bit about it. Give us a snapshot of what's going on with that.
Okay, well, it's Great Clips has been our sponsor for 2 years now, and they come up with a great idea, and they helped me start a foundation called Shane Sparks, Sparking Positive Attitudes.
Shane Sparks?
Kids. And yes, sir, Shane Sparks, Sparking Positive Attitudes in Recovering Kids. And we kind of unveiled it a year ago, and as a foundation, I've never done anything but work on race cars, drive race cars. So this was like one of the hardest things, and they kept saying it doesn't happen overnight. And we got to get on big Sirius radio station last week. We got to go to the Grand Ole Opry, meet a lot of people, and our website, or our page Facebook page got 30,000 likes and views in 12 hours.
Wow.
So we're spreading the word. I want to come talk to kids. I want to come explain to kids that life is a decision. You know, you make a good one or a bad one. That's all it is.
That's right.
It's a straight road. It's somehow you got to end up straight with only left and right turns.
That's right.
And I don't know the right way to do it, but whoever gets the straightest path, in my book, has completed and will do the most. So I'm trying to spread my thoughts, spread I like to show off my good haircut. That Great Clips gives me. They give you a great haircut. You don't need to check in online. You can do that. Great Clips, you know, is one of the first real sponsors. And I drove for them in 2004. I filled in for Casey Kane. And I become friends with them. And then Jason Leffler drove our car. And when he passed away, we put this deal together to keep, you know, Jason Leffler's name and his initials carrying on. You know, Jason Leffler was a huge sponsor and spokesperson for Great Clips, and he did it for almost 10 years. And I would love to be close to the spokesperson that was. So
Absolutely.
here I am.
Yeah, Shane. Now I'm curious if somebody that is listening tonight, or maybe will tune in. We're going to archive this show, by the way, buddy. So DeepDixieRacing.com, you can go back and you can re-listen to it. Would I be safe in saying that if someone wanted to make a contribution, I know there's different ways, but could you just walk into any Great Clips located in the country and tell them that you are interested in the Shane Sparks Sparking Attitudes for Recovering Kids? Would they be able to help somebody as far as could they give right there, or how does that work?
Well, there's through the foundation, you can go to Shane Spark on Instagram. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it on the internet, and you can. There's ways to do it. They're building it and putting it all together right now. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm a race car driver. I don't know anything about the real business parts.
Okay.
So there are ways. You can go to the website. You can check out. I am interested in speaking. I'm interested in people donating so that I can donate the money to areas where I feel like kids need it. You know, whether it's whatever. I mean, I see people all the time that don't have near the good bags to carry urine in, or the good cast to cast themselves. Or, you know, there's just parents that have sick children, you know, that you just want to talk to and help. And right now I'm getting a chance to do it, and I'm trying to speak and spread my word, and I appreciate y'all letting me do it. And I have to thank y'all because you said a lot of nice things about me, and I don't know if all of them are true.
Well,
but
Shane,
I do appreciate it.
You are quite welcome, buddy. And the feeling is mutual. And I don't know if you know this, and it's not a big deal, but I'm a pastor, and there's a scripture that comes to my mind. I also announced at a dirt track here in Middle Georgia, Cochran Speedway. We would love to have you if you're ever in this neck of the woods, buddy. But there's a scripture that comes to my mind when I was listening to you in Proverbs chapter 24, verse 10. It says, "If thou faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." And as I listened to you talk, I tried to put myself into your spot and what you have done with everything that came out of that day 5 years ago. I want you to know, man, that don't give up the fight, man. Not that I think you will, but you make such an incredible impact. I don't know how many people are going to watch this show. I know that a lot of people is going to spread the word in our little corner of the world, what we do. But man, God bless you, and thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for your honesty and your candid. I mean, you didn't hold back, man. If it made you look good, if it made you look bad, if it made you look anywhere in between, you told the truth. And I can see that out of this injury, man, it has really given you a boldness. And when I say that, I mean in a good way, a good boldness that we need.
I try to stand strong in what I feel and the luckiness that I got. And I mean, I wake up smiling every day, and I didn't do that when I was walking before my injury. So there's someone floating with me, or there is something in me that I'm fortunate enough to have people want me on the radio, come talk, just have around. And I am fortunate enough for that. And I thank y'all, and I thank God, and I thank so many people for that.
Very good. Well, buddy, again, we appreciate your time. And for those of you that are just tuning in, thank you for joining us on the Deep Dixie Racing Report. We are just about done with our conversation with Mr. Shane Meal. What an incredible story. And you can go back on deepdixieracing.com for those of you that may have missed the beginning of the conversation. And our producer, Dale Hall, he'll have that up, and you'll be able to go back and listen to it. Shane, I want to tell you, man, I never set out to really do anything. I was first a race fan, and then, did the prayer and national anthem, and then went into announcing, and I've been doing it now for close to 20 years. And I got to tell you, man, this is one of the highlights of anything that I've done in racing, being able to talk to you, buddy. This has been a real good time, and you did an outstanding job. We appreciate it. You there, buddy? Okay. Well, anyway, you'll be able to go back and hear. And, man, what an incredible story. I actually have a family member that is very dear to me that dove into a swimming pool at 27.
I hit mute.
Are you there?
I hit mute, people. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute.
I'm so sorry about that.
No problem,
thinking,
man.
Like,
Go ahead, Shane. Go ahead, buddy.
I want to say thank you, and thank everybody for listening. And don't forget to go check out Shane Spark. We will post things that we're doing. We're setting up a calendar where we'll be with the race car, where we'll be just myself talking. I go to middle schools, talk to kids that are about to make a lot of decisions. If they're going to smoke their first cigarette or smoke their first joint. And I like to be there and let them know that you don't have to. So pay attention to Shane Spark and tell people about it and tell them to check it out. And thank you for letting me be on your radio show.
No problem, man. Our best to you. And, buddy, you're always welcome to call in. You're always welcome. Just check us out, deepdixieracing.com, Cochran Motor Speedway. We would love to have you, man. Anytime that you could come down there, you can come as my guest, man. We would love to have you. But very well done tonight, buddy. A great interview. Appreciate your time. God bless you in your endeavors in the future, man.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me on there. Appreciate you pushing that word.
Very good. All right, Mr. Shane Meal, and he has a foundation that is being developed even as we speak, and got a great sponsor with great clips there on board. It's called Shane Spark, and what Shane does is he's trying to get his message out to children, kids that are in recovery. As a matter of fact, a great slogan, Sparking Attitudes for Recovering Kids, and he's available to speak at schools. He's available to speak at church events and social events, things like that. What an incredible story. Somebody that could have got bitter, could have give up, could have, just wake up one day and your entire life has changed. And the thing that I take away from that conversation is it makes me feel guilty, because as human beings, we feel that we've got to have this or that before we can be happy. You're talking about a man that wasn't even sure he was going to survive. Now he has rallied back about 5 years later, able to drive with some hand controls, but he will tell you that situation helped save his life. It made him prioritize what's right in his life. And I think it was one of the most powerful things. He said, I have learned more now than I ever did than when I was walking and I was getting around. So anyway, go back and check it out. Wow, we're about to change gears here. Again, you are joining us on the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Your host, Pastor Todd Sharon, track announcer at Cochran Motor Speedway. My good buddy Brian Hester, and our producer Dale Hall behind the camera. Our thanks to Shane Meal. And Dale, let's see if we can't track down Riley Hickman before we go to break. Or do you want to go to break?
We can try him. He said he had an emergency come up.
Okay.
But let me try him and see if we can.
While we're trying again, thanks to Mike Hurd, our friends at 5-Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins, and Mr. Bill Cheek, our friends at Heartland EMS in Cochran, Georgia. two of our sponsors. And if you'd like to come on board as a sponsor, guys, we're always looking to partner up with someone. Just simply let us know, and we'll be glad to talk to you about it. Very effective, very affordable, and it's easy to do, man. We'll do you right in exposing your business. So,
hello, Charlie. Sorry, Mr. Call.
Okay, guys, let me tell you what's going on. Dale just told me that Riley sent word that he had an emergency come up. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but what we're going to do right now, it is almost 8 o'clock straight up. Let's do this. Let's take a short time out, and when we come back, we're going to see if we can get a hold of Riley. If not, we're going to change gears on our show. We're going to be talking to a couple of my teammates at Cochran Motor Speedway, our flagman, Mr. Jason Dykes, and one of our track stewards, Mr. Heath Rowland, and they're going to be giving us a little inside look at what goes on in their particular duties on a race night. Also, we're going to be joined a little bit later on by a driver/promoter. He's held many positions in his racing career, still getting it done on the racetrack, a good-looking race car. He was down at our place in Cochran just a few weeks back. Mr. Skip Pinnell going to be joining us. We've got a lot more still to come. All of you that haven't had supper yet, you still got 2 hours. Rescue Smokehouse Grill right here on exit 75 off Interstate 75. You got to come on down and grab you something good to eat. Got a lot of people back here eating just to my left, and the food is good. The prices are very affordable. It's incredible, man. They're going to give you plenty to eat. If you don't like barbecue, maybe somebody in your family wants something else. They got chicken tenders. They have pizza. They got a little bit of everything. Come on out and see them, and I promise you won't be disappointed. They'll be open until 10 o'clock tonight. Come as you are, no dress code. Just come on out, and they'll be glad to serve you. All right, we're going to take a short time out. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with hour number 2 straight ahead on the Deep Dixie Racing Report.
Long, drawn out night. We're going to qualify them up for the Gatorade good. Matter of fact, there's a picture of it from Greg thing that's sitting in my hand. My head cat out of that stuff. So it's clear Gatorade. You can. Would you run that smell?
want to welcome everyone back to the Deep Dixie Racing Report. We're so glad that y'all tuned in on this Thursday evening. It's become something that we've gotten used to. I think we're going into about our 4th or 5th month of doing the Deep Dixie Racing Report again. Our thanks to Mr. Shane Mill. What an outstanding conversation that we had with him. You'll be able to go back and hear the replay on that. Dale Hall, our producer, does a great job archiving all of our shows. And Shane Mill, incredible story. A young man that went from pretty much the top of the mountain in NASCAR, went into open wheel racing, had a very nasty crash that was really honestly a miracle that he survived. He came away with some life-changing injuries, but he's made the most of it. And one of the things that have come out of that is a foundation that Shane has, that he has partnered up with Great Clips. These folks are all over the country. They're hair cutting salons, and it's called Shane's Spark. If you Google that, maybe look it up on Facebook, you'll be able to find out more about it. Shane trying to help those that are either going through similar situations with injuries, and more so even trying to get to children. He loves to speak with middle schools, church events, social events, things like that. Check it out. That's a real good thing. That's some good stuff there. And our thanks again to Shane Mill. Of course, we appreciate Raymond and Amy Poor and the staff here at Rescue Smokehouse Grill allowing us to set up shop here for the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Good food, good prices, great atmosphere. You got to come check it out for yourself. Going to be open until 10 o'clock tonight. You got plenty of time to come grab you some supper. Again, our thanks to our sponsors. Couldn't do it without them. Mr. Mike Hurd and our friends at 5-Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins. And guys, I highly recommend them. They do outstanding work out of 869 dealerships in the United States, Hyundai dealerships. They've been #1, and they're always at the top of the list. They do a great job. They service all make and models, and they're going to be fair. They're going to be honest. I went in today thinking that I was going to need new brakes all the way around, at the very least, rear brakes. And Mike and the staff got in there looking a little closer. It turns out that I'm good to go. They could have easily hit me up with some work that I didn't need, but they're the kind of people, they're going to treat you right. That's the reason why they have that award-winning service before, during, and after the sale. And they're a proud sponsor of us. We're glad to be involved with them. That's Mike Hurd and our friends at 5-Star Hyundai, 650 Russell Parkway in Warner Robins. And, of course, Mr. Bill Cheek and the folks at Heartland EMS. They are our first responders. We certainly appreciate all that they do, and their help in sponsoring us on the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Guys, you got a treat tonight. I'm joined by a couple. Not only are they my teammates, but they're my friends. I work with them. I see them every single week, and occasionally we're able to do stuff like we're doing right now, which makes it extra special. Joined right now by our flagman at Cochran Motor Speedway, Mr. Jason Dykes. Jason, thanks for driving down. And this young man right here, he is about to enter into the 10th grade. This is Jason's son, Will. Will, it's glad to have you with us tonight. Now, let me kind of set this up for you, and then we will get into the conversation. Jason is our flagman. Veteran flagman, does a great job. He's traveled with several series and helped them out over the years, and he is our flagman now. His son, Will, if you've been to East Alabama, if you've been to Screven, you've been to Golden Isle, you've been to Cochran, and I'm probably missing a few. When he was a little bitty boy, I'm talking about a small boy, he had a set of flags and would always be down on the bottom step, and he would be down there waving the flag. Whatever the flagman was doing on the race, that's what Will would do. And literally, when he was just a small boy, been doing that, and now not so small anymore, fixing to enter into the 10th grade. And I'm telling you right now, this young man could go to any track in the country, get on the flag stand, he could flag a race even at his age. And so we want to hear more about that from his dad's perspective. But first of all, Jason, a flagman, a lot of times people don't understand. I'm in the tower and there's radio communication going on. You're trying to watch the track. You're trying to watch for problems and things like that. All of a sudden, you got things happening. You got people in your ear on the radio. You've got lights to be responsible for. You've got flags to be responsible for. How do you keep all that together, man? Tell us how you do that.
Most of the time, it's not really that bad, but there are times where things get kind of hectic. Like I say, most of the time, it's really not a big deal, but you'll have a group of cars down here, a group of cars down there. You got to keep up with lap counts and that kind of thing. And it's just kind of a sixth sense, I guess. If that's the right word for it, I'm not sure, but it can be kind of.
We're joined right now by our flagman at Cochran Motor Speedway, Mr. Jason Dykes, along with his son Will that made the trip down here. Jason, another thing that I don't think a lot of people realize, I've worked for Mr. Carl Williams down at Lawrence County Speedway. It's a go-kart track, a real nice go-kart track, by the way. Matter of fact, one of our teammates, Henson, he was the flagman down there, and I was the announcer, and it was so much easier for me to stand. I would go stand on the flag stand with Tommy. We got along fine. I was an extra set of eyes. We were close to one another. I realized how dangerous it was, man. I mean, we've had, now I know big cars versus go-karts are different, but I've had tires come off. I've had other pieces of lead, bolts, nuts, whatever, come whizzing by. What is the biggest thing you ever been hit with?
I was flagging a Southern Outlaw Crate Series race at East Alabama Motor Speedway a couple years ago, and a rock probably about that big. Pearson Lee Williams was racing, and I think it was about the same time, I know it was the same lap, he got hit in the helmet with a rock. I got hit somewhere you never want to get hit. A rock about that big, and that thing hurt. And we're about halfway into the race, and
I got to ask you, did you throw the yellow flag?
I did not.
You're my new hero, man.
And as a matter of fact, we were halfway at that point. And I'm standing there holding the flag. And
man, I mean, I know we're laughing about it, but at the time, it wasn't funny. And I saw a clip. Somebody showed me a clip of a race where a sprint car got up into the flags. Have you seen that?
I have seen that.
I mean, have you seen it, Dale? You got to check. Like, you almost feel like you're there. But Jason, one of the other things that I know that falls heavily on the shoulders of you guys have to be the bad guy a lot. And, you know, a lot of what people don't understand is the flagman involved in it. There are many voices in his ear on a race radio on a Saturday night. There's so much happening. It's very hard to sort it out. But, you know, when you have those difficult calls, from our standpoint at our local track, let's just say that there's a caution, there's a questionable call. There always is, and nobody's ever going to be happy regardless of what happens. But let's just say, of example, that you've got a questionable call and it's for the lead, and you're late in the race. Both cars get together, both cars spin. From that point, tell us what happens in your mind over the radio, etc.
Okay, if I see it clearly, then I'll go ahead and make the call. If I don't see exactly what happened, or if there's a question in my mind what happened, the first thing I do is go to the race director, whoever they may be at the time, and ask what they saw. And at that point, we'll have a spotter normally in each corner if we've got a full staff that night, which obviously sometimes doesn't happen. But we'll go to the spotter in that corner and ask him what he saw. And then we try to take all the information as quickly as we can. Because you don't want to sit there right around 30 laps on the question. It's not good for anybody. So we try to put all that information together and make the best call possible.
Yeah. Well said. And I don't really think that there's any other way that you can do it. I've often thought, like in the NFL now, just in recent memory, they've got the review, and I've often wondered how long is it going to be before we have something like that at a dirt track. There's so much days, but Jason, I know that most fathers are extremely proud of want their sons to follow in their footsteps. I have two boys of my own. But your son, Will, over here, he has been around for a long time. And first of all, how old are you, Will?
I'm 16.
He's 16 years old. and coming to the races since he was little, because I probably remember Will before you was even 6 years old, probably 5 or 4 years old. Did you ever think that actually hanging there with this love for flagging at that age, or did you just kind of say, well, that's what kids do?
But you never really know at that age what they're going to do, if they'll just fall out of love with racing or whatever. You know, whatever happens, you know, when you grow up. Unfortunately, I never did. I've always loved it. Same way with him. I mean, he's been flagging or carrying a flag since he was 2 years old. Walking around the yard out there flagging, you know. So I felt like he would probably hang in there, but now he's flagging at the go-kart track over in Swainsboro.
Cool.
This is his second year doing that, so does a really good job. I'm really proud of him.
Yeah.
At what age did you buy him a complete set of flags? Because I remember him sitting down there.
Yeah.
All the flags.
And my question is, where do you find those? Where do you find a set of flags?
The first set I found him, I was at Overthorpe Speedway Park in Savannah, and went back just looking at a souvenir trailer. He had a set of flags, and I bought a set of flags for him. And then I think I bought like 4 from that guy because he wore them out. And he wore them out. And then I finally found a set that was actually a little more heavy duty online. Mm-hmm. And he said, I think he's gone through about 3 sets of those. And now he's got, obviously he's flagging now, so he's got real flags. But he's worn out about probably 10 sets of flags.
Cool, cool. If you're just tuning in, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Of course, we're in hour number 2, and we're talking right now with the flagman of Cochran Motor Speedway, Mr. Jason Dykes, his son, 16-year-old Will. And Will, I want to turn the conversation to you. I know that over the years that I've had an opportunity, and to God be the glory, to go at different tracks, do the prayer, national anthem, even help out in the booth a little bit. But I know that there has been at least one time in my memory that they let you up on the flag stand at East Alabama, and I think that was for the state race of the Nationals. I know that you've been on the flag stand at Cochran. To this point, what has been the most exciting opportunity you've had for flagging?
Probably be at Melissa Speedway Park in Florida. You know, they wanted me to come flag. I wasn't old enough when I first came. Well, next year I came, got an opportunity, and I took it and had fun.
And you flagged your first race. I'm talking about an organized competition. Really? Okay. Now, I'm trying to think. There is just about a major or a minor for anything, but I don't know if is there such thing as a flagging school or a flagging anything like that? I mean, I've never really thought about that, but I'm serious. Unless you grow up around it and you know somebody that does it, are you obviously planning on? Is this something you want to do as you get older?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. What else are you thinking about doing? I mean, with your life, what kind of a career have you thought about?
Mostly mechanics.
Okay. Okay. Well, man, that's an interesting story, and I promise you, man. You know, at first glance, it looked like a cute little kid down there having fun, but the more you looked at Will, I mean, he was in step with what's going on. And I mean, I remember one time in particular, you probably didn't even know I was watching. I remember one time in particular, we was over at East Alabama, and the flagman over there, somebody was getting a little bit rough, and he leaned over and gave him the finger like that. And next thing I know, I saw a little Will down there. He was up on the fence. He was giving him the finger too, like, you better watch it. I got my eye on you. But, man, I really appreciate you guys driving down tonight. Flagging is not an easy job. I mean, really, it's not. We had a situation at Cochran on Saturday night that was quite honestly very scary. And I know that a lot of times it's hard not to get caught up in the emotion. And in this particular incident, it involved one of our young racers in one of the beginning classes. And Jason and Heath and I were talking. It was like the perfect storm. Thankfully, to God be the glory, no one was hurt. But it's like you said, Jason, it's like time to slow down, man. What were your thoughts when you saw that happen?
Well, kind of the same thing you said, Mr. Todd. When he went into turn 3, you can kind of tell after a while of watching things that he's not going to make the turn.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was ready to throw the caution at that point, hoping that it would just kind of glance off the wall and keep going, that we wouldn't have to. But then when it hit the wall, obviously the caution comes out at that point, and then a second later the fire started. So the next thing that comes out, we've got to get everybody stopped. So, reach down and get the red flag's on, and then just trying to make sure that the kid is safe, or whoever's in the race car at that point is safe. And like you say, thankfully everything worked out the right way, but it could have been a really bad situation.
Yeah, and another thing, guys, a lot of times people are not. Nobody is trying to be difficult or smart aleck or anything when we say, back away from the walls, things like that. I remember one night last year, we had to send the deputies down at least 3 times to clear the inside retaining wall. And I'm telling you that it had not been 10 minutes before Daniel got them off, that the things that you don't think can happen in racing, it'll always happen. It just finds a way to happen. And a car noses into this big, giant concrete, what I would call a highway divider for construction. I mean, it takes a lick to move that thing, and it literally knocked it out of line, and it was right there. So, when the flagman, he is the eyes on the racetrack. He can't see everything. We've got haulers, we've got campers, we got things like that. And there are a few blind spots, and we're all trying to look. But, guys, I'm telling you, if you could ever stand up there one time and see what happens on a night, I think you would probably have much more respect and a whole lot more patience with the flagman. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's going to get the call right every time. But I can tell you that it ain't just the flagman that makes the call. So, but anyway, man, I really do appreciate y'all coming to join us, Jason. Thank you. You're doing a great job, Will. It's good to see you, buddy. And I'll tell you what, let's just do a tit for tat. Brother Heath, come on up here. And Jason and Will, thank you. We appreciate that. And by the way, if you need a flagman, an up-and-comer, I can tell you what, man, this young man, 16 years old, Will Dykes, man, he's the real deal. That is no joke. And I know he'll do you a real good job. All right, now we go from one teammate to another teammate, and Heath, it's good to see you tonight, buddy. Heath is one of the hardest working people that we have at Cochran. And one of the things that I appreciate about Heath, and I have a bird's eye view, it doesn't matter what happens. And even this past Saturday night, Heath is always one of the first people there. He's on the four-wheeler, and I mean, he is there in a flash. First and foremost, before we even start, what is your job title? I'm not even sure.
It actually depends on who you ask and when you ask.
All right.
So I guess it's just pit stewards, what most of them call it.
Okay.
But if you ask any driver, it depends on what kind of mood they're in and what I've done to them on what they
I got
call
you.
it. So.
And so let me set this up for the viewers at Cochran. I'm not sure how it happens at your local track. We have stewards pretty much in all the corners down in the turn 1 area. That is usually where when cars get into a dust up, there's a tire rub, there's something, the hoods come loose or whatever. That's usually where they pull down to get attention there. But Heath, there's times that you get words over the radio that says that driver's got to go to the back. And those drivers, oftentimes, they don't want to go to the back because they didn't see it the way that somebody else saw it. Give us an inside look as best you can about some of the conversation that goes on when you have to tell a driver, look, guys, we ain't got all night. You got to go to the back. What are some of the most difficult situations you've had like that?
Well, actually, I'm fortunate enough to have a double headset, which hears the race receiver and what's going on the track. So in one ear I hear the track radio, the other ear I hear what they've already told him. So normally they've already told that driver on the race receiver to go to the back. And 99% of the time, I don't make the call. I'm just the relayer.
Right.
So I relay the message to them. Normally I tell them to go to the back, and if you'll notice, I turn around and walk off and normally get dirt slung in my face and in my back and everywhere else. But they all been around racing long enough. They know they're going to have some bad calls. They get good calls. Sometimes they go in your favor. Sometimes they don't. So I just relay the message, and most of the time get dirt slung in my face or whatever, but I keep going.
I hear you, man. If you're just tuning in, I'm joined right now live here at Rescue Smokehouse Grill by one of our track stewards down at Cochran Motor Speedway, Mr. Heath Rowland. And Heath, a lot of times at a racetrack, I often say these cars, they have no brakes, they have no lights, they have no horns. I mean, they do have brakes. Some of them don't act like, yeah, Brian's saying that the horn is on the front bumper. But there are things that happen. And you being near the track, and I always, when I'm saying our prayer, not only do I pray for the drivers, but I pray for the workers that are close. What is the closest call you've ever had as a track steward working?
I would probably say in 441. Actually had two guys get into it a little bit. He didn't know that I was behind him on the four-wheeler. I don't want to call his name, but he actually shoved it in reverse and just pushed me in four-wheeler and all. We went for a ride. So,
Wow.
But I think, he took a little suspension. He called me the next day. He actually came to church the next day. He goes to a church I go to every once in a while. He comes and visits. So he was at that church the next morning. He apologized. So
Cool.
everything was good. We good buddies.
I hear you,
That's
man.
probably the closest call. But the number one thing is to remember is fans, crews, moms, dads, to stay off the track. That's
Yeah.
the number one thing they got. They got to stay off the track because they mess up my focus. My number one focus is to get, if it's a bad wreck, is to get the driver out of the car. Whether he's on fire or not, my number one job is to get him out of the car. I got another guy that's right behind me to get the fire out. I'm getting him out of the car. And if you're close to the track or on the track, I lose my focus on that person. You're costing your kid or your husband, you're costing them seconds because I'm focused on you then to get you off the track. So that's a lot of things that people don't, in the heat of the moment, don't realize.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, man, if you come to Cochran, you're going to see what this guy's saying. Absolutely dead on true, man. This is not exaggerating at all. He has a flasher on his four-wheeler, and I'm telling you, man, there has been times that, this past Saturday night, prime example, perfect storm. One of our young drivers got in a little too hot in 3 and 4, wasn't able to make the turn like Jason said, and he got into that wall pretty good. Got into it enough that it busted parts of the motor, and then suddenly you've got a flame that erupts. And you can imagine, you got a beginner driver, I wouldn't say a child, but certainly a young man. They've taken a hard lick, and then the worst case scenario, you see fire. People panic, and that night, I'll tell you, it was just reaction, I guess. People started coming over the fence or the inside retaining wall, and their intentions were good. Their heart was in the right place, but that could have ended much worse.
Right. They actually should have stayed in the bottom. As hard as that seems to realize, they should have stayed put. But that's the nature of the beast. We all humans, and I know their intentions were good, but we have to contain ourselves in a situation like that and let the right people handle it.
Is there any particular way, and I'm serious, I'm not joking right now, it's all about how you say it. When you've got a driver that has maybe led, 75% of the race, all of a sudden somebody gets in the back of him, there's a judgment call, they both get sent to the rear of the field. You got sympathy. You probably have seen things that happen, certain things like that. How have you found that it's best to approach a driver when they're already upset, the adrenaline's flowing, and you got to give them some bad news they don't want to hear?
There ain't an easy way to do that. They all got their own story, so there's three sides to every story. So I don't just tell them. I mean, that's all you can do is just tell them and relay the message. They're not gonna like it because one's gonna think he's right, the other one's gonna think he's right. So just relay the message, and we got to keep moving.
That's right.
Maybe next week it'll be in your favor if it is a bad call. So.
Right. And before I let you get out of here, Heath, I'm just wondering, I'm trying to think, and I know that everybody's probably asked this question. How much time do you estimate we waste on a Saturday night just by people not wanting to get back in line, not wanting to fall in line, not wanting to, I mean, how many times have Jason turned the lights out and I'm on the mic saying we're fixing to go back green, and then all of a sudden somebody running 15 pulls down and says, look, check my hood or whatever. How much time do we waste like that? I mean, just realistically.
I'd say at least 40 minutes.
At least. I was going to say an hour.
That's not just Cochran. That's all tracks. They're all racers. They're all a good group of guys. The funny thing about racers is they all love each other. They all get along all week long until 6 o'clock on Saturday night. And then they don't get along for about 4 or 5 hours, and then it's all good again. So
I hear you, man.
But that's the way they.
What would you like to see that would speed up the show. The most important thing you'd like to see a track do, this would have to speed up the show as far as stuff like that.
The question is this: what would you like to see, or what would you do? The most important thing to speed up the show on a race night.
When I call for a class to come on the track, if they ain't on the track, I give them one to go. If they still ain't on the track, we going green. Follow up the rear. I mean, we all know when it's time to race. They all grown. They know when it's time to race. They say I'm a little hard. Yeah, I'm a little hard. You know, I get a little frustrated. But hey, we all grown. If your car ain't ready to go at 6 o'clock, it probably ain't ready. You don't need to be on the racetrack anyway. So,
Right.
That's probably the biggest thing that I would try to speed up. When I call you, let's go. Let's be ready to go.
Mm-hmm. And guys, I tell you, when you got a show, just a regular Saturday night, you think about the things that we have no control over. You know, some of the things I've seen happen, freak stuff like the light go out. The transformer gets too hot, the box gets too hot, and suddenly the light goes out. We try to utilize the time. We'll use that as our intermission. Occasionally we'll have a rain shower. Occasionally there's somebody that's going to break a rear end or blow up and there's fluid on the track. There's a million things that happen that we have absolutely no control over. Rain. Sometimes we have debris that comes off the track, off of a car, drive shaft, or whatever. But guys, really, I'm serious. When you think about it like this, if we are where we're supposed to be when we're called, then naturally the show's going to go on. If you get ready to pull off and you've been so busy under the hood, you fail to see that your right rear is going flat. Send somebody down to somebody like this, what we got going on. And no one's unreasonable. We want you to race, but when it's time to get in line and when it's time for your class to be called or whatever, that really is something that eats up a tremendous a lot of time. Nobody's trying to be hard, Alec, but when you've got, you know, 6 and sometimes 3 heats, and 5 of those 6 got the features, can you imagine if we spend 7-8 minutes in each class? It adds up. That's why I say at least an hour. But anyway, Heath, thank you for joining us, man. It's the first time we've had something like this. Thanks a lot, buddy. You do a real good job. That's Mr. Heath Rowland. He's one of our track stewards down at Cochran Motor Speedway. Let me kind of recap what we've done thus far. We're on about the 5 to go is what I'll call it. Again, thanks to everybody that has tuned in tonight. The Deep Dixie race, yes, we're probably starting up about our 5th month, maybe. For some reason, it seems like we started back in March. I know it was cold weather, but we appreciate everybody joining us. We do. And for those of you that write comments, you have questions, you make suggestions, we really, really do appreciate that. And we sure do appreciate our sponsors, Mike, our Hyundai Build Sheet, and Heartland EMS. Our thanks again to Mr. Shane Neal. An outstanding job in his interview in hour number 1. Go back and listen to that, man. That'll inspire you. Again, thanks to Jason and Will Dykes for coming down and making the drive and talking to us a little bit about flagging and what happens up on the pack stand on the race night. And then, of course, we just got done calling one of the track stewards. Those guys have a dangerous job. And I tell you what, man, they are just wide open from start to finish. We appreciate that. I'll tell you what, let's do next. Brother Skip, come on up, buddy. Coming up next is a man that has been around dirt track racing for a long time here in the South and around the middle Georgia area. And we really appreciate you being with us, Skip. It's good to see you again, buddy. Mr. Skip Pennell, he has been a long-time racer, and let me just say right out of the box, man, I love watching you race. You are a baller out there on the track, man. You really race hard, but you race clean. Tell the viewers that are, where are you at with your racing right now?
Well, I've kind of come out of retirement. I had a friend that had a car, and he had a driver for it, and the driver didn't work out, and I done some work on it and actually carried it to Needmore. It was a limited car, won the race, and so it was that kind of got him, you know, wanting to run some late model stuff. But anyway, told him I didn't want to race every week, but we did race every week for a little while. And of course, I took over back over Albany on Saturday to help John out with that. So that's put us back where we need to be. So we run about 2 times a month.
I got you. Now, my next question was about the changes at Albany Motor Speedway. When exactly did you go back and take over the promoting duties there?
2 races ago, which was 4 weeks ago. We run every week. So it was actually 4 weeks ago. I've run 2 races since I took back over.
Mm-hmm. Okay. If you're just tuning in, we're joined right now by a longtime late model driver. He's run other divisions too, Mr. Skip Pennell. And Skip, I know that when you start talking about the legendary drivers, I'm sure that I would leave some of them out, but I think about the McDaniel brothers and the list goes on and on. When did you actually get started in racing?
I started racing in 1973. I was 16 years old.
And,
I started at Thunderbolt Speedway.
Okay. And I'm guessing then, was it called a bomber?
No, it was late models. It was late models. We had Chevelles and they had some Camaros and 55s. As a matter of fact, my first time, it was a late model, but it was a 55 Chevrolet.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is an extended racing career. Looking back on your years as a racer, what is your most memorable win?
Man, they all good. I won a super late model show at Cordele in 1989. It was a 50 lapper, probably the biggest show that ever had in the South, at that time. And I was a local racer there. Buck Simmons was there, and Clint Smith. I mean, we had a big crowd of good racers, and Jack Pennington was there. And I actually won the race. Jack run second, and that was a big win. That was a fantastic win at that time. Won some when Ray Miller first got started. The late model thing kind of went away, and everybody was didn't really want to run the lower, the limited type late models. But Ray had a good thing going, and I won a lot of races for Ray. And then of course his show got bigger and better, and he got more like late models, and he got a lot of recognition then. But we ran supers. We ran supers up till. I ran supers up till probably 2003. But yet we dabbled in the Ray Miller stuff. And just fortunately I had some help that I could do some of the super stuff and still stay involved.
Were you ever able to quote unquote race full time, or did you always have a sideline career? Or?
Well, I've always had a sideline career. I guess I've raced for a living because that's You want to get all the money you can get out of it. Of course, racing is not a profitable business, but fortunately, through my years, I raced for some good people that actually paid me to race.
Very good, man. That's awesome. If you're just tuning in, we're on the White Flag Lap. We're being joined right now on the Deep Dixie Racing Report by Mr. Skip Pennell. And Brian, I know that you've been around the area for a long time, and you probably got a few questions and things you'd like to chime in.
We conversating. It's really nothing to do really with his past. I mean, I know he's drove for a bunch of different guys and stuff. And he wants to mention that. I mean, he drove for my neighbors, Mr. Hilton Pope and the Yellow 22 back in the day, and had some good runs. I think you had a second or third one night. I have a Tampa race over in Cordele.
I did. I had a second at Cordele behind Bloomquist at Cordele.
Wow! Got around Lanigan on the restart.
I did. I got behind him with about 4 laps to go.
Yeah, and I've seen him. It's probably everybody remembers him in Cochran in the 441 era was with the yellow 16.
Yeah,
Mr. Raymond Bagwell,
35.
35. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And with had the powder blue roll cage.
That's right. He won a lot of races for Ray.
Terrorized. I mean, I'm talking about he had his own hate club at one time over there around 441, and he literally made poor Sammy Joe Fountain and Keith Edge and some of them guys. He made their life miserable for a while there.
They were tough. Now
they were tough.
You couldn't just run. You had to deal with them every week. They were a little. They were a little rougher at the time than I was used to, but I had to follow them in there with them.
Well, we was actually talking about Sammy Joe. A lot of people know who he is, and some people don't. But he was like the consummate, just local guy that just could take anything and make it go fast. I mean, he was fast. I've seen him take a set of heads off of a car at the racetrack, put another set of heads on and race. How in the world did you do it? I've seen him rebuild a transmission at the racetrack before, but we was talking mainly about, and he's seen every side of this thing from motor on the track, do everything else. Where racing is right now, Skip. I mean, where do you think it needs to go? How do you know, we've talked about the lack of crowds, lack of car counts, and where it's headed.
Brian, I don't know if I know the answer to that. I guess if I knew the answer to that, I could make plenty of money by telling everybody what they need to do at their racetrack. But yeah, racetrack, and you know, it goes back to a lot. You know, a lot of racetracks struggle, and a lot of racetracks don't, and they can still be in the same vicinity and still struggle, and then the other racetrack don't. I don't know if it has anything to do with exactly where they're located or the type of people that surround, you know, that draws. You know, I don't really have the answer, but yes, the car counts are down, especially the late model car counts. You know, we're actually, Albany does okay. We have a decent car count. Our spectator crowd's down a little bit. We're looking at different things to do. We don't want to do the wrong thing, but we need to do something to get the crowds up.
Right.
And we also operate Needmore. So our crowds at Needmore are good. And we actually draw from the same people, but we run the two tracks on different weekends. We run every other week. And I don't know if, you know, the people want to just support, you know, they say, well, I'm just going to go this weekend. I'm not going to go next weekend.
Right.
But I know coming up, we raced every weekend. We raced every Saturday night. And the crowds were decent. I mean, they were good, but you know, we'll have 15 late models at Albany one Saturday night, and then we won't have them for the next Saturday night. And then same thing with Needmore. Now we had a race at Needmore a month or so ago. We had 4 late models, and then the next time we had 12 late models. So I don't know if some of the traveling shows that they've got out there are keeping some of the guys at home to not race during the week because they figure they run the shows to make more money, you know, one time a month or one time every other. I just really don't know. We're actually getting another late model class up. And what the class is going to be, there is a lot of good late model that you can buy for $3,000 to $8,000. And what we're trying to do is we're going to take the hobby stock type motors and put them in these late model SO2s to run.
Right.
And we're going to try to see if we can bring this class in. Now we're not going to allow. We haven't done the rules on it 100%. We're going to make our Albany Motor Speedway and Needmore Motor Speedway rules on the hobby stock motors to be in these late model cars. Okay. We're going to leave the wheels. We're going to leave all that stuff the same. We're going to make the motors have an 1850 carburetor on them, stock HEI. We got a certain way. It can be stock front clip, or the car's got to add a little bit in front of the flywheel. Right. We haven't done this, and we don't want to leave anybody out, but we're looking at like late model drivers. We're looking at putting kind of keeping some of them out of this thing. You got to maybe get some of the guys to move up, or some of the guys that don't have the finances or maybe don't want to spend the finances to move down. We're just kind of throwing this thing around, and we've had a great response from it. We don't know that it'll work, but we're looking at, we've got to do something.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, we are joined right now by a longtime late model driver since 1973. That's incredible. And he's also a track promoter. And just recently, in fact, about 2 weeks ago, 2 races ago, we'll say, because they race every other week, Mr. Skip Pennell. And that was a great, I guess my question, a follow-up to that, of course, back in the day, the 70s, 80s, whatever, I was a lot younger. I didn't think I think about now. I just didn't. I mean, if I could get to the racetrack, I was happy. I didn't consider what it took to make it happen. But you being around it for a long time, Skip, I know that it's hard to compare because it's apples to oranges, but from a percentage standpoint, what it takes to get into the racetrack, first as a fan, next as a driver with a few crew members, versus what it was, say, 20 years ago. What can you see as far as percentages? Is it astronomically higher, or is it maybe a little higher. It just depends on where you go.
I think it's just, you know, the operation of the racetracks. It is so expensive. I mean, it is just, you know, and I know the drivers, and I'm a driver. That's why I can do this. I'm a driver and I'm a promoter. I look at both sides of this thing, and I've always said every race car driver ought to be a promoter at one time. And I know they don't want to, but you know they need to understand this thing. But yes, the expense of operating a racetrack, from the insurance to the employees at the racetrack, and you know to just the maintenance of the racetrack. If you know, you don't understand how much fuel and how much time and how much it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got a rain out, then you got all that expenses there, and it's just a combination of things. Yes, it's just like anything else. It costs to operate a racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
It is people just really don't even have a clue how much it costs.
It's almost like cooking food and nobody comes to eat it.
That's
and
right.
then you just, you're out
Right.
food and the cost and everything.
That's
else.
right. Now, you know, 20 years ago, I'm sure it was expensive, but it's just like anything you do today. If you're a businessman, 20 years ago, your profit margin was better than it is today because everything's so much higher. And
Right.
you can't, you know, we go up as high as we can on our entrances and on our people coming in the pit and the people coming in the stands and our food, and they complain, and I understand that, but we have to do this.
There's a breaking point
just
both
no
ways.
way
The
you can
diesel
do
fuel alone, I know, is, I mean, I come from a trucking background.
That's
You
right.
do too.
That's
I mean, 20, 25 years ago, well, fuel was what, 90 cents a gallon, maybe?
90 cents. Or
And now it's $2.40, $2.50,
That's right.
as much as $3 a
If
gallon.
you can find it for that.
If you can
And
find it.
next week at Live in the North, I won't name the track owner, and I won't name the track, but I absolutely believe this gentleman, and he's very well respected. He once told me when I was announcing, we were getting down toward the end of the day show, and we were right at that little seesawing point to where it was getting a little too dark to race, but yet we you know kept having cautions. And he told me, he said, if I flip the breaker for those lights, if they stay on for 5 minutes, he said it's going to cost me $150 just to flip the breaker. I have no reason to doubt that, but things like that people don't see.
They don't see lights, they don't see the electricity, they don't see the food, they don't see the, you know, you got to have food at the racetrack, and you know what we try to do, my wife actually runs the concession stand at the racetrack, and we try to not have much food left over.
Yeah.
You know, we had rather run out of food before the race is over than to have food left, and we do have food left over, and it's not a problem if we have food left over. But our goal to that is if we run out of food 30 minutes or 15 minutes before the race is over, we have no waste. We don't lose what food we don't.
In layman's
we don't
terms, it's much better to have the $2 or $3 that hot dog would bring versus having a hot dog that has a shelf life of what, 3 or 4 hours.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
totally
Kind of like
understand.
what a lot of tracks, and I know talking that, and I'm not, if I'm not mistaken, I think y'all do done that Nebo before, where you just say, you know, half off.
Yeah,
That's
on,
right.
on the
Yeah, we
last
got a
race.
lot. If we got and since we've done this, we haven't had a lot of half off, and you know it's helped out. But yes, if we got it, we try to either buy one get one free or half off, and we try to let the people know if we've got.
You got to cover your costs.
That's right.
I have a question that has always, maybe you guys can help me. Take, for instance, Raymond and Amy, the restaurant here. You said it yourself. One week you may have 4 late models. The next week you may have a dozen or 16. Simple arithmetic tells you that if there's another dozen cars versus the week before, or if it goes up or down, how do you guesstimate how much food to buy? How much, how many buns, how much, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because a giant swing, and my wife worked at Cracker Barrel for years, and there was times that they would anticipate there was a certain event going on, in the area, and they would cook up food. Well, lo and behold, everybody must decide to go to Pizza Hut. You got all this extra food. And so how do you just go back from experience and you just kind of look at the law of average? You look at that this month over the last 3 years, or how do you do that?
Well, the way I done it, when 2 years in 08 and 09, I ran Albany by myself. So what I did is you know, it's just experience. I mean, you say, okay, we had this many people, so you pretty much know what you sell. And unless you have a big show, it pretty much stays the same. I mean, you might overbuy a little bit, or you may even underbuy, but you usually try to buy the same amount on the weekly show. Now, there's going to be weeks that you got more people or you got less people, but most of the time it'll balance itself out, you know.
Okay.
But you do need some inventory, just in case, you know, you say, okay, I'm getting low. You do need some inventory left over in the freezer, and so you'll have it. That's kind of the way we do it. We just, whatever we sold last week, we try to put it back in inventory. We do keep it small.
Yeah.
And then if there's a big race, we're gonna have 2,000 people. So yeah, we automatically buy more.
Yeah.
And it really is just a guess.
I got a question for you, Skip. You're talking old school racing a while back. You only had 2 classes, if I'm not mistaken. Do we have too many classes today?
Yeah. Very possible. Very possible. But I think what happens, and that goes back to on a racetrack, and everybody can't afford a late model. Everybody can't afford a hobby stock. So you need, and what I think they've done with this is to get more cars involved in your program, is they've made different classes to get more people involved in it. Is it the right thing to do? I can't answer. I think that's what they've done over the years, is they've tried to add more classes to get more people involved, to get more people to come out.
But think about this: you want people, especially families, if they're getting out of that, away from that venue after 11 o'clock. I'm talking about 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes, which is ridiculous. It's because you're running so many.
We've got 5 classes at Albany. We have 11 o'clock curfew. And most of the time, probably 95% of the time, we're open. There is times it goes by that things just don't work out. But yes, we've got 5 classes we really need to follow.
Well, I remember when my dad would take our family down to the Thunderbolt Speedway or whatever. If it got a little after 11 o'clock, we didn't time to come home. But it rarely happened because you only had those 2 classes.
Well, and you also see now, you know, as far as the cars and all, you know, they evolved. And like you said, I think when it got around the late 70s and 80s and the cars started, especially late models, started getting specialized, and you started getting into, now we're not home building these cars. They went from like home built to now we got a $10,000 car. Then we had a $15,000 car. And you know what it's up to now. Brand new rocket probably cost you $30,000. Roller with no motor, go pick it up in Shinnston, West Virginia, and you got a brand new car. And what it revolved, but also on that, do you think when you have big races sometimes that the track bring in 2 extra classes? And you know, we've had one of those nights this year at the Luck Track where we added on 2 extra classes, and it got strung out. And where do you? I see other tracks do it. This is just my opinion. I was in Greenwood, Nebraska a while back. They had a big sprint car show and a big super late model show that night. I didn't realize they had 4 or 5 classes. But that night they ran 3. That was it. I walked out there at 10:45. And I know you're shorting, and I'm not going to say support classes, because I believe that those low classes, to me, are basically putting people in the stand a lot of times.
Well, the smaller classes or the lower classes, the guys don't like to be called lower classes,
No.
but they are the ones. They are the cheaper classes.
Yes.
They are the ones that actually you've got to have them. I
Yes,
mean, you just got to have them.
I feel like they bring more of the meemaws, the people,
They
the
do.
grannies, and the aunts and uncles.
Now, your late model class, yes, they bring people from the stands. They do, but they are so expensive to pay. And you know, we've got at our 2 tracks, we've got 100 to start. So you know, if you've got 15 cars, you've got a pretty good little pay right there.
Right.
You know, before you do anything.
And you got to make that up
You
somewhere.
got to make it up. That's
Yeah.
right. And that's just like when I started in 1973. You know, the race cars were basically like hobby stock cars.
Right.
They still had motors for most of the guys. And this is kind of what we're looking at on this late model class. And like I said, it may not work in the pay one, but back then, I think there was like 28 cars when I run my very first race at Thunderbolt. 28 late models, and most of those guys, matter of fact, all those guys, if I was going to say, built their own motors.
Yeah.
They did their own things. We had big tires. We had big souped up motors with roller cams and big old carburetors. But our cars were cars that we drug out of the junkyard and put roller bars in and raced them. Okay, and as you said earlier, as it starts going, the cars get more expensive, and you get this guy, well, he has to fall out, and now it's you've just got a group of guys that can afford to do this, and everybody can't do it. Everybody can't run like that.
And from a promoter standpoint, I realize this working, close with the owners and things. Race fans, you're always trying to keep something fresh. And like, for instance, up at Cochran, I guess it was last year, maybe the year before last, the Legends cars from Atlanta, I don't think they had ever run on a track that big, or at least most of them hadn't. And they came down, and now I think you run with us probably twice a month. And then you've got other classes. We've added this, we've added that. We sprint cars come a time or two. From a promoter standpoint, it's almost a double, because you have something to offer to the fans. You're giving them an extra bell and whistle, but at the same time, a lot of these touring series, and this is something I do not know, but I have heard figures. Let's just say I have heard that some of the national touring series, it's 45, 50 grand right out of the box just to get them there. And so then you've got to decide, am I going to be able to make that back? Am I going to be able to, you can only bump those admission prices up so high, the food up so high, and then you're going to redline and you're at that tipping point. What do you do in a situation like that, Skip?
Well, we run some super late model shows at Albany now. We hadn't run any World Outlaws or Lucas Oil, and that would be the top line. But we've done good on them, but it is a big risk. You just have to say, okay, I'm going to take a chance on this. I want to bring it to my racetrack for the people to see. In this area of South Georgia and North Florida, we don't run supers. We run our limited type motors, and they're fast. Don't get me fast for what they are. But when you say super, you're looking at 800 horsepower motors, it will bring people out. And you do have people from Tennessee and South Carolina that will travel down here to watch those. So, yes, you're going to get a bigger crowd, but are you going to get a big enough crowd to cover that?
Right.
It's a gamble.
And then the average fan, and rightfully so, they're a race fan. When are you going to bring super late models? When are you going to bring the USCS sprint cars or whatever? And trust me, guys, I know Skip would tell you this, and I can tell you every track promoter and owner that I've been near, they want to give you the best possible show, the best bargain for your dollar. I mean, who doesn't like to see that? But at the same time, you can only take so much of a hit, because when you bring that series in, even though people may not be looking at it, you're looking at that stand, and you're hoping to God that those empty spots will get filled up, because that's what is going to make the difference if you go into the bank breaking even or in horrible shape. And but anyway,
the supers is one of them deals, and Skip's gonna agree with me. We've talked about this before. The big name supers, and people don't understand it. Hey man, we can get this. We need this. And you either got to get those guys when they coming through in speed weeks, have you raced in, or you're going to have to get them at the end of the year when their traveling series is over. That's all the time you can get.
And trying to get one day is hard enough. Right. I mean, we've talked to Phil Gardagno, North Florida. We've talked to the folks at Volusia. We've talked to Daryl Corson. I know Chris Martin. We've coming this weekend. Now, I mean, there's no denying it. We got 60% chance of rain on both nights, or just about. We may get them in, we may not. I would say the way the weather's been falling this year, we're probably not. Now, think about it like this. It's like pulling a tooth to get one night. Then you try to make it up. Then you try to make it up in late July or August when you rain out, and then school starts back. You see all the ramifications, the fallout, man. And so there's a whole lot more. I guess what we're trying to say, nobody's asking you to feel sorry for the track owners or promoters, but guys, you got a very good look at what goes in. I'm talking about from the time you call the Brett, we're going to need this many bags of ice or whatever, sodas. There's a lot that goes into it. And Skip, I want to tell you, man, I've had the opportunity to go over to Albany we had a pretty thing happen. Matter of fact, it's coming up on the Labor Day weekend. And Cochran, it was one of the things that I don't think yet. It pains me to even talk about it, but our track was out of commission for, I don't know, a month or two. And my buddy Billy Lyles, me and Billy rode over to your place one night, and Skip, you had me to do the prayer and national anthem, and you treated me like I was somebody special, and I'll never forget that. I really appreciated that. And I tell you what, man, old Skip Linnell, he gets it done on the racetrack. He was out qualifying. We had a big race July the 4th. Rain came on Saturday, washed it away. We're planning on making that up on Labor Day weekend, 10,000 to win, and Chris is still going to honor that. But Skip, man, he's out there getting it done. A good-looking race car, number 18. And I tell you what, if you want to see some good racing, and you're in this area, I guess from where we're at now, Albany's probably the closest track. What are y'all, an hour from here, maybe?
It's probably about 80 miles.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And I promise you it'll be a good time. And I know that you've got some more great people down there. Ben Sumner, one of my good friends in the racing family, a part of your team and the rest of the people. But Skip, we want to thank you, man. Thank you for coming, and you hung in here with us to the very end.
How many wins? Have you ever calculated it?
Well, my mom, I have. My mom passed away about 2.5 years ago, and cleaning everything out, she had everything down probably about 304.
Wow, that is a great resume. 304 wins, and I'm guessing most of them, if not all of them, was late models, right? And
late models, of course, a little bit of time that I run with, Ray Miller. And of course, it turned into.
And look, let me tell you something, man. Ray Miller stuff, that ain't no cakewalk. I mean, that is some serious stuff, man. By the way, I got to ask you, how's my buddy Ray doing? I haven't seen Ray in a while.
Good. He actually came to Albany a while back, and I seen him. He looked good. I didn't really get to talk to him because we were busy, but Ray at one time had a real good series. Yes. I mean, I showed up at some of those racetracks. They'd have 60 cars. I mean, you had to race to get in.
It was tough.
It was, and of course, I think Ray getting sick and whatever other problems that he had, his series fell off, and of course Ben Summers, stepped up to try to help that out. But I don't know that you can get that many cars anymore, but he had a good deal.
Yeah, and if next time you see Ray, tell him Pastor Todd said hello. Ray don't live far from me and Kathleen. Been to my house, and Ray's a great guy, man. Guys, that's going to do it for another great night here on the Deep Dixie Racing Report. I really enjoyed this. We had an opportunity to talk with Shane Neal. What an inspirational story that young man has. Go to Google or go to Facebook, and he has a foundation called Shane's Spark, and you'll find out everything you need to know about it. They're partnering up with the National Hair Salon chain, Great Clips, and they have been a part of Shane's life for a while. The late Jason Leffler, tragically, we lost him a few years ago. He was very much involved, and Shane's kind of carrying on his legacy. A great conversation with him. Also, our thanks to Jason and Will Dykes, Heath Rowland, and good job, Skip, as always. And, of course, we couldn't do it without Raymond and Amy Poore and having a place to do this. You still got time to grab you something to eat. They're open till 10 o'clock tonight. And, Brian, as always, a good job. Thank you for hustling to get here. And my buddy back there behind the camera, he's got on to me tonight because I eased up on the names, and he said that upset him. And so Dog Pound Dale Hall behind the camera, he's the producer of this show. Anytime you got a name for Dale, he welcomes it, I'm telling you. But anyway, we're going to end the show the same way we started, with a word of prayer. A lot of good things happening this weekend if the rain don't get us. Savannah tomorrow night, Southern Outlaw Super Street's going to be down there. Keep an eye on the weather and their website. Neesmith Crate Late Models rolling into Cochran Motor Speedway, going to be a 2-night show tomorrow night and Saturday. Also hoping that we can dodge some forecasts that don't look too good, but we're going to try to get it in. And wherever you may be going, support your local track. Show up. Yeah, bring a friend, bring a guest, bring a child. That'll be something they'll never forget. Wherever you're at right now, I'm going to ask if you would to please pause, and we're going to go to the Lord in prayer and just ask the Lord to keep everybody safe this week. So bow your heads with me. Father, once again, we come to you in the name of Jesus, the only name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. Thank you for another chance to come and do this show. Lord, we get to talk to some really great people, and we get to hear a lot of interesting stories. We make new friends, and Lord, we just get to just kind of kick back and talk about something we all enjoy and we all love, and that's racing. And just thank you that we have a chance to do this, and thank you for everybody that makes it possible. There's so many people that work hard to even make this show go once a week, and we pray for those that are sick in our racing family. We pray for those that are struggling. I pray for Shane Meal and everything this young man is trying to do to help other people that are facing challenges in their life. And Lord, we just ask that you keep your hand on everybody that's going to the races. Even before they get to the track, we have dangerous highways we have to travel on. And wherever these drivers are going to be this weekend, I pray for safety for all of them. Please protect them. We ask, Lord, that even though racing is dangerous, we just pray that nobody's injured or hurt. And Lord, of course, last but not least, we pray for our servicemen and women all over this world. We ask that you bring them home safely and bring them home soon. And Lord, if there's anybody that is watching this show tonight and that hears this prayer that is not ready to meet you and their heart has not been given to you, Lord, I pray that you will continue to reach for them, draw them near, and Lord, let them be saved while there's still time. And I know you want that more than anything. Again, we thank you for all your love, your kindness, and your blessings. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, folks, that's going to do it for another great night on the Deep Dixie Racing Report. Again, thanks to all of our guests, whether they phoned in or they drove down to be with us live. Again, anybody that's racing this weekend, remember, you got a lot of eyes on you, and you're an example. You are a hero to many, many people, especially our children. So keep that in mind when things get really, really tense. Our best to everybody this weekend. Remember, be safe on the highway, be safe on the racetrack, support your local racetrack, and the good Lord willing, we'll see you again. God bless all of you. We'll see you next time from the Deep Dixie Racing Report.